Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Donna Silva, and today I have a very special guest. I have Evan Morris with Calavera Coffee. He is the owner of Calavera Coffee, and so Evan, I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you for having me.
And to get started, I'd like to just start what inspired you to start Calavera Coffee and what that journey has been like.
I grew up in Hollister. I worked at Starbucks when I was in high school. I worked at Vertigo Coffee in San Juan Bautista. And I grew up in a town that didn't really have a cool coffee shop, right? There was Mars Hill, which is no longer around, but like I kind of like got into the coffee industry and kind of had a different interpretation of what coffee was and what it could be. And like, I just believe that every town should have a nice little shop. So I decided to just pioneer that and do it myself.
And what year was that?
2018. So we're on year 6 now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you even went through COVID.
Yeah, we were located in 2 different places. And on the second place, we were located the week that COVID hit, everything shut down. We signed a lease on our own space because we were in a shared space before. So the week that everything shut down with COVID, we moved into our own spot and we were just like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so how did you face those challenges with COVID and?
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of patience. I had a really good support around me, like my family, my friends, my partner. And so it was kind of like, okay, just have to, maneuver our way around everything like everybody else had to do. Everyone else had to find different avenues of different ways of doing business, or even just kind of maybe changing things that you didn't necessarily think that you should change, or adding certain things to your business model that you didn't think were necessary, like mobile ordering. We were delivering coffee to people, like at the beginning, delivering milk when the first week because people didn't want to go to the store. So we had all this extra product. And then just doing like pre-bottled lattes and things like that. So there's a lot of little ways that I did business that I didn't think I would at first, but it worked out.
Yeah, clearly, and it's just grown from there, right?
Yeah.
Like your following has grown. I've noticed that on like your social media pages and just kind of, I would say, in general, like the local coffee shops that we have within the area, I would definitely say you tend to bring like the most amount of customers that I've seen.
That's cool. I appreciate that. I mean, we've definitely seen it grown in the last 6 years. We're finally like in our own location that we're gonna call home for a long time. But we moved 3 times. We were in 4 different locations, and took a long time. But it just consistency and just trying to, continue just to do the right things and try to make the right moves, and it works out.
And the address to your newest spot and where you've been.
Currently, we're at 1715 Airline Highway, Suite 2, so it's right between if you're looking at it from the front, water store, nail salon, that was our coffee shop.
Yeah. So right off of 25.
Yes,
Highway,
right off of Highway 25,
So convenient.
Yep, very convenient, very busy place.
Yes, it is. So Evan, you mentioned you have moved the business 4 times already. And as you know, this is a real estate show.
Yeah.
What role do you feel that your location plays in the business?
Yeah. Well, the first 2 places we were at was a pop-up. So we were using a mobile coffee cart because we didn't really want to make a permanent choice on where we wanted to be, which was in downtown Hollister. But where we are now, currently on Airline, that's like the busiest part of town. So you have a Goodwill, you have an Ace Hardware, you have Target, Nob Hill, all these stores around, so there's people around. Like foot traffic is really important. Having a parking lot is really important, and I will place any coffee shop as close as I can to a Starbucks, which is right
I was
across
going
the
to
street
say,
from us.
you've got Starbucks right across the street.
Yeah.
And so I would think it actually helps your business.
Big time. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will kind of assume like you don't want to be close to those businesses like a Starbucks or a Dutch Brothers, which is also down the street.
Right. Yeah.
But if you think of it from a strategic point of view, if people are on Google or they're coming through town or they don't know like where to get coffee, the one place that's going to pop up is Starbucks, Dutch Bros. So if they look there and go, I don't really want Starbucks. Oh, there's another shop across the street. Let's just go check them out. So being close to Starbucks, being in the busiest part of town, having a parking lot, which is huge. Coffee shops really depend heavily on foot traffic. Foot traffic is foot traffic and parking are the two biggest draws for like a successful coffee shop. People can't park, they're not going to want to go. If there's not people walking around seeing your business, then people are not going to know about it. So I feel like where we are currently in, on Airline in that shopping center, it's really hard to fail when you're like in that busy of a place.
Yeah,
So.
I know for me, when I have to go to Ace or if I want to go to Goodwill, my girlfriends and I will plan like, okay, we're going to stop at Calavera first and then grab our coffee and go. Because it's an experience also,
For sure.
in my opinion.
Yeah, and then once you walk in, you're like, oh, this is cool. So I mean, like that, and then we were located downtown for the first couple of years, but the amount of foot traffic we see on the other side of town and just comparing the two, it's like it's night and day.
Yeah, there's no comparison.
Yeah, there's no comparison now.
Yeah. So as a business owner, how do you foster a positive work environment and leadership with your team?
Yeah, well, like right off the bat, we do orientation for all new employees. So whenever we hire someone, we take the hiring process pretty seriously. We get like 20 resumes, we'll hire like one person. So we try to find people who will fit into our group, try to fit into the core group, because as you know, if you're working with people, you got to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Right, same culture.
Yeah, same culture. So orientation kind of sets up employees for that. And then we train people really well. So we train people on customer service, on, they don't really make coffee on the bar until we fully train them. So I think leading by example is another one. So if I'm kind of like not doing my job, if I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, which is like paying your employees, making sure the space is set up for them, making sure you have enough product, or just hiring the right people, I think you'll get a different response than if you take the time to do training, orientation, show your employees that you care, go the extra mile a little bit and do things for them that maybe other places wouldn't. We play records at our shop, so they can bring their own albums in and listen to music while they're working, which is kind of a unique experience for some people.
Instead of hearing the same music all day at
kind
certain
of gives
places.
people a little bit of like they're kind of giving their 2 cents. They can listen to music that they enjoy. But I think it all stems from just leadership, training, and really like focusing in on what values the business has and kind of how you want people to uphold those values, because I'm not there right now. So my assumption is that they're there and they're doing their job, and but leading by example is another big one.
And so did you have formal training? I mean, I know you said you worked at Vertigo and but did you have formal training?
No, I kind of just developed a lot of these things kind of on my own, but I did get a lot of tips and a lot of support from the owners of Cat and Cloud, because they have a very like well-structured, methodical orientation and training for their staff. So I touch base with the owners of Cat and Cloud quite a bit, specifically one, his name's Charles. And so, I do kind of check in with them and get ideas from them. And we've actually bounced ideas off of each other. But yeah, just kind of through more so experience, I think, of like what I experienced that I didn't like as an employee, and kind of what I experienced that I did like, and just kind of like trying to put those two things together.
So just listening to you, it sounds like you're obviously very passionate about coffee. Where did that even come from?
Yeah, well, passion technically means pain. So, things that you're passionate about cause you a lot of pain. Coffee doesn't cause me a lot of pain, but learning how to make coffee and stuff over the years has taught me a lot. It's been a huge learning experience. You never stop learning about it. But I think initially, going to Verve in Santa Cruz, I was there maybe when I was like 16 years old. I was kind of having a weird day. I went in, and the people that were there were just super nice. They were really cool. Those two gentlemen that were serving me coffee that day now own Cat and Cloud, so it's kind of a full circle sort of thing. But that was one experience where I went in, and they were really cool about stuff, and just like service was great. The coffee was, I'd never had coffee like that before, so trying that was like my first initial like, oh, this is really cool to me, and I like coffee. Like I've always kind of just enjoyed the taste of coffee, so being able to combine experience with coffee and putting those two things together is kind of just where it all started. So over the years, I've worked really hard on learning as much as I can and then passing that on to my staff. So I think it takes a long time to get good, at what you're doing. And with coffee, it's kind of always changing. But yeah, I think initially just that one experience, and then just kind of opened up the door to exploring different places, and yeah, just meeting new people. And it was a whole like industry-wide thing. So that was kind of when I was like, oh wow, this is really cool.
And this is for me, and I could see myself doing it.
For sure.
Yeah. And then what about, do you go to like conferences, seminars? I mean, because you're saying it's for always changing.
Yeah.
And so how do you keep up with that?
Yeah, as a coffee professional, I suck. I'm not very good at like being involved with like the SCA, like the Specialty Coffee Association, or anything that's like the industry-wide, groups that a lot of business owners get involved with. I'm trying to get better about that. So I haven't really gone to any seminars or anything like that, but I just basically my own kind of research, and I not paying too close attention to what people are doing, but just kind of like seeing where the industry is headed, and learning more about coffee from where it comes from, and sort of understanding the coffee market a little bit better is kind of where I think my brain is kind of headed towards. But yeah, I should probably get better about doing that, because my staff will eventually might want to be involved, and that's good networking, and I need to be better at networking.
Yeah, good morale.
Right? All that. Yeah.
So
Yes.
You'll get there. I
Yes,
mean, I feel
I'm
like
trying.
you have so much on your plate. You're running a business in general, and taking time away from a business isn't always easy.
Yeah. I also want to go to Warriors games and do fun stuff too. So
and as you should.
Yeah,
live your best life.
That's
what I always say.
Yep.
So I know you're saying you don't do that you don't maybe get involved in the Specialty Coffee Association, but you are involved in the community, correct?
For sure, yeah. We sponsor Hollister Little League. I think we have one of our banners up on the, is it right field? Yeah, it's right field, and one of the Babe Ruth fields. Like different schools will reach out for fundraisers, or like the Youth Alliance. I think it was Youth Alliance, maybe the YMCA. They'll reach out for different things, and so I do the most that I can. We do get a lot of people that reach out, so if you have reached out and I have not been able to donate, I apologize. But we try to stay pretty active and just working with groups that also work with us. So like the food bank and San Diego County Food Bank, they've bought coffee, hot chocolate, and stuff from us. So obviously anyone that we work with, we really want to try to reciprocate that and give back in the best way we can.
Yeah.
Being a small business, you can't really give too much.
Right.
But you can do what you can, and I think a little goes a long way.
Oh, for sure. And I know I'm a small business as well, and you want to give to everybody. It's just you can't always give to everybody, and I think always give to what you're passionate about, and obviously, like you said, like the Little League. I mean, that's right.
Yeah.
Our future.
Hollister Little League. Yeah, it's kids playing baseball.
How can you say no?
Anything involving like young kids who are either in like a YMCA or anything like that, it's hard to say no. It's like school. Even like I went to Calavera, so Sunny Slope, things like that. I'm like, that was me at one point. So
right.
Cool.
And do you ever go and like I know like the high school does career day? Do you ever attend any of those and talk to kids who may want to be young entrepreneurs like yourself?
I haven't yet, but I would be interested. So if anyone wanted to have me up there to talk about opening a business or anything, I would be more than willing to do that. I had one teacher that asked me a while back, but I don't know if he works there anymore. So I'm like, well, if anyone else does, any teachers out there, if you need someone to come talk to kids, I might be your guy, maybe. Yeah.
I say you are, and I know plenty of people at the high school. My brother's a teacher there, so we'll get you connected.
Oh yeah, he was my teacher, by the way.
Oh, he was.
He was freshman year.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I hope that's good.
He's a great teacher.
He's an excellent teacher.
He's a good teacher.
So what strategies did you use to establish and grow Calavera Coffee?
Strategies that I use to grow. I believe in the experience of coming into our shop is a big factor, and I think kind of like our success up to this point. So I feel like word of mouth is really important. So I feel like if people have a good experience coming in there, they're going to tell people about their experience going in there and getting coffee or having a nice interaction with someone. Social media, Instagram, I myself personally I'm not on Facebook at all. I probably have like 1,000 unread messages from people on Facebook. But social media has been a really easy way, especially during COVID, to kind of like showcase what you're doing. And I think just being in a place where people can see you and they can come in. I think that just being consistency, your hours, your menu, kind of like the quality of what you're doing. And I think just the content you're putting out, I think that is a big component to like growing your business. Because I think if people like it, they'll tell people. And as those people like it, they'll tell people, and the community's continuing to grow, as you well know in real estate, right?
Yes.
So the more people that we can capture to come into our shop, the more that they'll tell people, and it just, we have people that come in during the holidays who bring their family who are from out of town. Then those people sometimes will come back and they're not with the people that initially brought them in, but they're just passing through. So I think that, just like social media, consistency, and I think word of mouth is a big one.
Yeah, and social media, I know you just said you don't really check your Facebook messages, Facebook. But what about Instagram? What's the handle on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram's just all one word. It's Calavera Coffee. So we're pretty active on Instagram. We do most of anytime we have like a new release of drinks or a new like merchandise release, we're pretty active on Instagram for the most part.
Yeah, and I do notice that you're on there a lot, or maybe someone from your staff is on there pretty consistently, and it just the aesthetics of the page, it does resemble your shop. When you walk in there, it looks exactly the same, which I love because I'm all about aesthetics.
Yeah, so. And my manager is the one who handles our social media, so I wish I could take credit for the social media because it does look great, but my manager, Tabby, she does all the Instagram posts and all the, she has the ideas to like, we should take these pictures this way. And I'm just like, however you think it looks good.
She does a great job. Yeah, it looks really good.
Very artistic, very, she's very like.
Creative.
Very creative, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
I would say.
Super.
So what roles have you found yourself in unexpectedly, and how did you navigate those responsibilities?
Ooh. COVID was a good test. COVID was a good test for leadership. I didn't have any employees between the time that we moved from the time that we reopened, quit or leave. Everyone just kind of hung in there. So I'm like, all right, I guess that I was like, you guys all believe in me. That's cool. And it's like, oh no, you all believe in me. This is scary. So definitely like from a managerial standpoint, managing people, which I had no experience of really up until owning my own business. Payroll specialist, bookkeeper. I have a bookkeeper, but being more organized. A lot of it just comes down to leadership and having to kind of believe in things, even if you don't necessarily believe in yourself sometimes, or you kind of doubt yourself a little bit because you have other people relying on you. So you kind of have to always have your poker face on. It's just like, during COVID, it was like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And it's just like underneath, you're like, I don't know what we're going to do. But
I'm dying inside.
Yeah. So little things like that. But I think even just scaling a business, which is really weird. I don't have any marketing background. I don't have like a business background in school or anything. But I have noticed that like I've been able to figure out sort of how to market and how to strategically kind of find ways to grow and scale the business. That I think just kind of comes naturally, but it's also sort of something I've had to learn watching other people do it. So marketing, managing. I'm an excellent bookkeeper, and little things like that. So,
having to kind of find your way, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I always think, just being a business owner myself, because technically we're independent contractors, is finding what you're good at, your strengths, but then what you're not, delegate, right?
Okay, that's a good point. So going to that, I know exactly what I'm really good at, and I know exactly what I'm really bad at. So for all the things that I'm not super good at, I try to understand them better, but then have someone else do that. For social media, for example, if I ran our social media, it would look very different, and it would not have the same allure. So I have someone else do that who's better at it than I am, and it works. And same thing with like, I know what I'm really good at, I'll handle it. But if I'm not so good at it, I will outsource it or find someone who can do it better than I can.
Trust.
Trust.
A lot of trust, right?
Trust, for sure.
You definitely have to trust your team.
Yes,
and I recently got a team, and I'm learning how to do that. And it's tough. It's tough to let go. But how did you find that? How did you learn to let go of certain things
Yeah, and to be honest, there's certain things you just never like fully let go of. You're always kind of like looking around,
Right.
and you're always gonna kind of do that. But I think that just shows that you care. So that's not a bad thing. But I think like understanding which things are really important and which things are not super important. Sometimes the things that you think are the most important really aren't, and you just have to kind of like let someone else handle that. And for the things that are really important, I kind of see it as like, as long as everything is getting done and every person is comfortable and understands their role and it's working, even if it's not done exactly the way that you would want it, if there's really no problem with it, don't make an issue out of it. And it's control. It's your ego. So
It is.
you have to be able to abandon your ego a little bit and kind of take a little bit of control off of your plate and let someone else do it and trust them. And if there's things they need to work on, then that's just their opportunity to grow and your opportunity to help them grow and help yourself grow.
Right. So great communication.
For sure. And comprehension. Communication and comprehension, for sure.
Yeah. So how would you describe your leadership approach, especially in the contents of this close-knit community that we have?
Authoritarian. No. I would say I'm a strong believer in letting people have their own experience, like with their job. So like when I was learning and I was kind of figuring things out, I'd like people to make mistakes as long as they're not super costly. I think that allowing people to kind of express themselves through their work and find maybe a more efficient way to do it. So if I delegate a task to somebody, I will let them just handle it all on their own. And sometimes if they need help, I'll help them. But sometimes if they don't need help, let them figure it out on their own. And so I definitely am hands off in certain ways, but then I'm not necessarily like a micromanager. So I like to brief with my team every week and see kind of where we're at. And if I notice things are a little bit off, I'll kind of go in there and maybe ask myself, is that something that I need to work on to communicate better to them? But for the most part, everyone who I have there is pretty, we like I said, training is a big part of it. So we're constantly talking and communicating. So as a leader, I like to think I'm a good communicator. I like to think that I set things up in an organized fashion. And I think that if you have everything organized and you're communicating everything to your team, I think that's how you can be effective. You don't have to always be like, I don't yell or get like upset. I just try to take a step back and be like, okay, how could we fix this? And can we do this differently? Or most of the time, which we don't want to say, is like, this is something that I messed up on. Did I not do a good enough job? It's easy to, point the finger at somebody else, but then at the end of the day, it's kind of like, that may have been my fault. So taking ownership in that and, just trusting people, like you said.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's tough.
It's tough. It's very tough.
Yeah. I don't know that a lot of people, if you're not a business owner, you wouldn't know, but that is, I would say, definitely the struggle. That for me is the biggest struggle.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
I think so too, because I think when you open a business, you have a vision of exactly how you want it to go.
Yes, exactly.
But then if you're the one who's doing all that yourself, you're not able to step away and be objective, so you think that you're always doing things the right way. And you might have people who have different opinions who think, well, actually that doesn't work. And your ego will say, you're wrong, I'm right. But if you're able to trust people, having other perspectives helps you in the long run. It also helps you realize that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes a struggle of having a business, right? You don't know everything.
You don't know everything.
Yeah, I do. Kidding, I don't. Yeah.
Well, you know about coffee, that's for sure.
A little bit.
And you know how to run a successful business.
Thank you.
Really, like I said, just getting through, thinking about that you got through COVID and just all the restrictions that were placed on, especially restaurants and any food service industry of any kind. It almost was impossible.
It was tough. Yeah, it was not easy. I think if anyone who did work in the service industry during COVID, they can tell you that the smallest little things that we kind of took for granted before were really easy or really difficult to kind of like, we had rules that we had to follow. We had certain things we had to do, but I just think that it will be what it's going to be, not it is what it is, but kind of, so just consistency, just keep your head down, keep working, and don't try to get too distracted out here. So yeah,
that's easy to do too.
Yes.
When you're looking at what everybody else is doing that's within your industry, trying to keep out that noise.
Yeah.
So what is it that, I mean, because I know that's tough for me. How do you deal with that?
I honestly don't really I pay attention to what other companies are doing that I think are beneficial for the industry, but I don't really pay too much attention to what anyone else does like with their business. I just kind of keep my head down and focus on myself and my business and my staff. I know what I want, and I know what I want my business to be like, and I don't think anyone else out there can help decide that for me. I think that I have it up here exactly like what I want it to sound like, look like, smell like, all those weird little things that like I just try to really focus on that, and I think that will take me farther than if I'm too busy looking at what everyone else is doing.
So speaking of your goals, future, where do you see the future of Calavera Coffee?
We're gonna start roasting pretty soon, so that'll be cool. That's
really?
That's a new adventure for me. Yeah.
So you heard it here first. Right?
Start roasting some coffee. Yep, that's it. There's only 3 other people that know that. No, I probably have like blabbed about it and mentioned it to people. But yeah, so roasting coffee is probably the next step for us, and just growing on more of a I don't want to say a global scale. That sounds presumptuous, but like growing on like a bigger scale than just our community, being able to like get our product out there to other people. But honestly, just kind of learning something new. So. Roasting is something that I have knowledge of from just working on a little tabletop roaster, but that's something that is a new challenge for me that I want to take on. So yeah, roasting coffee. I mean, at this point, any other future locations or anything like that, it's not off the table, but it's possible if the right thing comes up at the right time. I'll never rush anything, so if it's not right, it's not gonna.
Why do it?
Why do it? Yeah, just gonna be wasting time. So it has to be like worth my time. But yeah, definitely roasting. We might have a couple of collaborations coming up pretty soon, which will be pretty fun.
Very cool.
Yeah. So other than that, just trying to work on the roasting side of things right now, and some green buying green coffee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of what like Vertigo and all these other roasters do. They buy green coffee from like a third party. So there's like the farmer who's wherever they are in whatever country they're in. Then there's people that go down, they buy the green coffee from the farmer, and they sell it to the roasters. So that whole side of the industry of green coffee buying is super new to me, but it's really big. So there's a lot of steps involved and a lot of new things that I don't know about that I'm excited to learn about. Yeah.
I've never heard of that. So
yeah, green coffee. Be like, it's green before it's roasted. Yes, coffee is green before it's roasted. Yeah.
I just know I love it. And I need it to start my day.
Yep.
That's all I know. So we touched on, how competitive the industry is, or especially in the small area.
For sure.
How do you stay ahead of that? Like innovation? Are you constantly innovating, coming up with different drinks?
Yeah. I know I've said this word like 6 times already, but consistency is important. So having a baseline of just what you offer and keeping that as consistent. I said it again. And just keeping that as simple as possible, but then offering little things that other people don't have. Like, we have a seasonal menu that we switch out every quarter. So we switch out our seasonal menu. We've also swapped out roasters every quarter. So using a new coffee roasting company that most people around here probably haven't had access to. Like we've worked with. Being a multi-roaster, which is what our cafe currently is, means that you serve coffee from different roasting companies. So we've had coffee from probably about 30 to 40 different roasting companies. So keeping that in rotation will keep people's interests. Having those menu items that we swap out every season. We sell albums at our shop, so we sell albums and we have featured local artists in our album selections, like Drain, who's from this area, Scowl, who's from San Jose area, and just different like little record labels like Stone's Throw, which is a pretty well-known label in like the hip-hop community. And also just having our own line of merchandise that people can kind of, come in and see something that like, it's been designed by an employee. It's been locally printed. And sometimes we have multiple artists that we're working with who do different designs for us. And another thing would be probably our latte bottles that we have in our ready to go fridge. So like what we call our cooler singles, like our little singles have become a pretty big staple of our business that we wholesale those now. And so I think just offering different things to keep people interested every quarter and just kind of keeping those in rotation, but then also at the same time just having your very like solid baseline of what you offer, having a very simple like concrete menu, and then just adding certain things in. We also work with a really good baker, the Bee's Knees, which is out of Moss Landing. So those are different things I think that make us a little bit more unique and kind of give ourselves I don't want to say a leg up, but just kind of make it different than what other people are doing.
Yeah, and collaborating with other business owners and helping them grow. And I love that about about going into Calavera, seeing the different artwork that you display for local artists, and even was it the T-shirts? You had some that I think they were a local artist designed them. Correct?
Most of actually every bit of merchandise that we have printed are designed by one of our employees. If it's not, we'll let people know. But then we also buy the design from our employee. So if our employee designs a T-shirt, we pay them for it, or we like split the profits on it. And we also have we have a mural up in our hallway going towards the restroom that was done by a local artist, Julian Torres. And then we also have a whole line of current works being done by the San Benito Arts Council. So we have their stuff up as well. So it kind of ties into the community aspect of things. And I think having those little nuggets of like, specific details kind of makes people feel like, oh, this is like, it's like a different cafe, but it still ties it back to Hollister and the community that we're in.
Are you willing to share with us a memorable moment or experience that defines the essence of Calavera Coffee?
Let's see, in my mind, I have 3 memorable things that kind of tie into our shop, and just kind of like I think 3 cool stories for anyone who has like a business or anything is we had a floral print design on our espresso machine that was done as a wrap. And one of our customers and his now wife had their first date at our shop. And so the inside of his tux, I don't know if it was the groomsman, but it was definitely the groom's tux was the same pattern. He had me send the PDF to him because they had their first date there and they remembered the espresso machine. So he got that lined inside of his tuxedo. So that was pretty cool. Another thing would be a girl getting one of our merchandise designs tattooed on her leg, which was wild.
Wow.
She walked in, she just asked us if we recognized her tattoo, and it was just like done like an hour before, and we were like, is that the tote design that we had from last summer? She's like, yeah. So she got that tattooed on her, which was kind of wild.
And forever.
Not temporary. It was not a temporary tattoo. It was a legit tattoo. And then the last thing that sticks out in my head all the time, and I like telling people this story because I think it's really funny. We have a customer who has a dog, and they would take walks down to our shop during the summertime. They lived up by the hospital, so they would walk all the way down to our shop. And one day we saw the dog walk in without her, and we were kind of like, oh, she must be outside, but she was off of her leash, which was really weird. And so we kind of like walked over, and she knows all of us, so she'd come by the counter and sit and wait for her little pup cup. And I just didn't see her owner, and I was like, who are you here with? Yeah. Well, she walked herself down to our shop without her owner because her owner was out of town, and the in-laws were supposed to be taking care of the dog, and she apparently jumped on the doghouse, jumped the fence, and then went on her normal walk without her, and then came right to our shop. And so then we just put
That's a smart dog.
a very smart dog, and just knew exactly where to go, which was our shop.
Yeah.
And we put a leash on her and put her in the corner, and she just like laid down until the owners came and picked her up. So those 3 things are pretty cool, and that all those things happen because of like our shop. So pretty cool to see people take like what we're doing and apply it to their life. So pretty interesting.
Especially a dog.
Oh yeah,
like,
I love dogs. So,
yeah.
And her name is the dog won't know because the dog's probably not going to watch this. But her name's Chili. And so Chili walked herself down, and she just sat there and looked at us, and we were just like, "What? Who are you here with?"
Yeah.
just came by herself. So
And that's a smart dog, especially because Airline Highway is a busy
she
road.
crossed over. She didn't cross Airline, but
Right,
she
she
crossed
went-
Sunset and went down past the hospital and then crossed the street on Sunset across to go towards Ace.
Yeah,
So she crossed 2 streets.
to get to Calavera Coffee.
Yep. To get a pup cup, and apparently she waited at all the stops.
So you have pup cups available too.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we give dogs that come in. Dogs are welcome as long as they're going to behave. And we,
Oh, so mine aren't welcome.
no, neither's mine.
He's met my dogs.
No, yeah, my dog's not welcome either. He needs to mind his manners. But yeah, we give like a little free cup of whipped cream for a dog because dogs eat for free. So eat or drink for free.
And you have water out there for the dogs as well?
We don't have a water bowl out,
Oh, okay.
but if someone does need water for their dog, we can obviously give them water. But our little shopping center, we have some
Yeah. So
some
you're
rules and
pet
stuff.
friendly.
Very, very much so. We have our employee has a bearded dragon she brings in once in a while.
Really?
There's a really mean parrot that shows up once in a while. Doesn't come in too often. Some people brought cats in strollers. Another girl brought a bunny in, an iguana. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that come into our shop.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have to bring my dogs, but maybe
Yeah.
separately.
Or an iguana.
Yeah, or an iguana.
Or an iguana if you have one. Yeah.
I'll bring Rascal, your favorite.
I like Rascal.
Yeah.
Rascal's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you say? He's you compared him to an actor.
Oh, is it the one that looks like not John Travolta?
No, I think it was. I can't remember. We could take
I'm
that
really
out,
bad
but
with
I
actors'
could.
names. Yeah.
Now I'm like dying
Wait,
because now
he
I'm
did look
thinking
like
of-
an actor, but I don't remember which one it was. Not Ron Perlman.
No, it was like an older actor.
Sean Connery?
Sean Connery.
Yeah, it was Sean Connery. So
Yeah.
I had to go through the motion there. I was like, Sean Connery, that's who
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
yeah.
he does look like Sean Connery. His little eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Rascal.
Yeah, he's a sweet one.
He's
So I'll
cool.
bring him in
Bring
to have
Rascal.
a pup cut.
Bring
Yeah.
Rascal.
So speaking on leadership
Mm-hmm.
and being a leader, I'm sure it's not always fun being a leader, and I'm guessing you've had to make some tough decisions and
Yeah.
choices that have impacted the business. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, I think being in an ownership position or a leadership position, sometimes you feel like you're on an island because you're kind of like, you're up here at the top of decision making and things like that. Personnel wise, we have a pretty good track record. Our employees are great. But I think just being in business, like we said over and over again, during COVID, we moved 3 or 4 times. The first time we moved was not planned. The second time we moved was also kind of not planned. But the last time was also kind of a risky decision because we had a groove going where we were, and there was a space that opened up 2 doors down, and it was kind of like, do we move again? Do we not move again? But the space that we moved into had way more than we needed, and it was a good opportunity for us to grow. So I think the hardest thing about a business would be those growth and scaling moments, like, because sometimes it goes wrong or it doesn't go the right way, or you think it's going to go one way and it goes the other. And if at the end of the day, when you make those decisions, the only person who's to blame is you. So you have to really just be willing to be like, well, if this doesn't go well, it's on me. But yeah, I think just kind of like moving around, those have been the tough moments because it's been for the better of the business, but it puts stress on employees. It kind of it adds an additional cost of having to redo what you've already done and time and all that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like whatever's best for the business, and then you kind of have to make those decisions, even like personnel, if someone's not working out, or just not working with a certain company anymore, or little things like that. But I think for us specifically, the moving around was the tough decisions to make, because if not, we don't really. I look back in retrospect now, and I'm just like, I'm really glad we did it. But in that moment, you're kind of just like, okay, now what? So yeah, I think those have been the toughest decisions that we had to make, especially during COVID and following certain rules and all of that. But it worked out. So you stress about it, you get a couple gray hairs, and then you move on.
Yeah. But I feel like that speaks to you as a leader, because to make those moves and make those decisions, and then you still have those employees with you, that says a lot about you as a leader.
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, I try not to, I'll never ask my staff to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. So if there are those moments where it has to come down to us moving or anything, I'm going to put like 200% effort in to make sure that they don't have as much to deal with on like not adding on too much stress or work for them. So I'll kill myself a little bit just to kind of get it done, and then just kind of like, okay, here we go. So got to take those big deep breaths once in a while and just make a decision and just live with the results, right?
Well, the results have been great. So
Thank you.
Really?
Yeah.
So Evan, just being a business owner for the years that you've been in business, what advice would you give someone who's looking to open up their own business?
Ooh, my belief, and even this is something that I practice today, is start small and stay as small as you can for as long as you can. I think a lot of, I don't want to say mistakes because, you, like I said, retrospect, you can always look back and see what you've wanted to do differently or could have done differently.
For sure.
I think growing too fast is where people get caught in taking on too much. So if you have a business where you're just, you're crocheting, you're selling things on the side, you're doing pop-ups, do that until it absolutely is just like so easy for you that you don't even have to look at what you're doing, and you can just do it with your eyes closed, or you can just show up and be busy or whatever you're doing, and then make those initial moves a little bit slower and as small as possible, just so you're not gonna, do too much. It's really easy to get like, I want to do this and I want to do that, but at the end of the day, it's really important to just maintain and sustain and try to optimize what you're doing and not maximize what you're doing. So optimizing meaning like just use every square inch of what you have, every tiny tool you have, use everything, use every resource to death, and then once you've reached that point, then you can make that little jump, but don't make it too big of a jump. And I think just from a business to business, just my own opinion is kind of just like eyes on your own paper. So if you're, looking at what everyone else is doing and you're trying to emulate them, the lowest form of flattery is copying someone else.
Right.
In my opinion. So I think that if you're just able to be original and be like your own authentic self, you can convey a better message than if you're trying to do what someone else is doing.
Right.
So that's just me. That's just my opinion. But I think if you are going to start a business, start small, stay small, and just make little moves as small as you can until you get that right opportunity, and that right opportunity will come up when it's supposed to. Don't force it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you get any kind of assistance from like the community or like business lines of credit? Like it's a young person wants to start a business. They have an idea to do maybe not coffee, but maybe something similar.
Yeah.
Or, where would they go? Or do you have any advice on that?
It's really hard to get like a small business loan when you're just starting out because they want to see you as it's a startup loan, but you're like, but I'm a startup. But they're like, no, you have to be in business for at least 2 years. So if you can just do something for 1 to 2 years and make it a business and treat it as a business, a bank or whoever you need to go through to make that next jump, they will look at your business and say, okay, this is a business, this functioned as a business, so we can lend money to an existing business. But those startup loans are really hard. I kind of just started up with saving money and just, like I said, going really small and taking 6 years to get where we are now. But if you're not super comfortable doing it at first, just borrow some money from your family. Or if you have someone who's willing to invest in you, who you can pay back, that's a lot easier than going through a bank. And then, when you need to make that big jump, get an SBA loan. Lines of credit are a little bit tricky because there's a really high interest on those in a short term that you have to pay back. So my mindset's always long term, little interest if you have to borrow money. But just start small. So
where do you owe your entrepreneur drive from? I mean, is it just something you grew up when you were young, you just knew you had it in you, you wanted to be your own business owner, like you were doing lemonade stands and you knew, or was there somebody that you looked up to and it was like, I want to be like them?
I played The Sims a lot as a kid.
Really?
And this is going to sound weird, but I used to build houses on The Sims and then just rip them down and start over. And I would do that for like hours every day, which sounds insane because it is. But there was just something about building stuff. It's like for me, I don't even really consider myself, touch the mic. I don't even really consider myself an entrepreneur. I consider myself a coffee shop owner. But when I start to maybe delve into different things and have my hands in different industries, then I can consider myself an entrepreneur. But I just kind of picked one industry that I was really interested in. And it sounds dumb to say it's like The Sims, but just the idea of building it is really exciting. So like, my grandpa owned his own, he was a glazer.
Okay.
which growing up, I didn't know what that was. And I was like, oh, he cuts glass and he makes windows and all that. So he had his own business. But both my parents, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad, he worked for PG&E for a long time. So I don't really know. And I think that you kind of have to be a little nuts to go into business for yourself. You have to be a little bit kind of crazy, but in a good way, because those are the people that will get things done. So I don't really know where it came from, but I just knew as a little kid, I initially was like, I want to own a skate shop. Between playing The Sims and skateboarding, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to have a skate shop. And then that was not feasible. And then as I got into coffee, I was kind of like, oh, this makes sense. So it just kind of like, I kind of fell into it, which is what a lot of people say. But yeah.
So we're going to kind of wrap this up. But lastly, I wanted to ask you, so who is Evan behind the brand? Something we don't know, maybe something you want to share about you personally.
I mean, for the most part, I keep a pretty low profile. You won't really see me on like our social media platform. I believe more that the business is more about the business than it is like one individual. And so I do maintain a pretty low profile, but I love basketball. Like I'm a huge Warriors fan. I've gone to a bunch of games. I played basketball growing up. Played in high school a little bit, and it didn't quite work out. But I play the drums. I'm a drummer.
Oh, okay.
So just little things like that. I mean, I'm pretty. When it comes down to it, I'm a pretty simple person. I like to be in rooms by myself and just sit there in silence for like an hour or two and just not think about anything. I love sleep, so I like to take long naps, sometimes too long. I mean, just basketball and little things here and there. But if you catch me outside, I may not talk too much, or I may be kind of like some people think maybe like tough to approach, or they're kind of like, I'll talk to you. I'm just kind of quiet. Like I'm like an extrovert. I whistled. Sorry. I'm like an extroverted intro. No, I'm an introverted extrovert. So I like to maintain a low profile out in public, but like I'm friendly. Like I won't
approachable.
Bite. Yeah, I'm approachable. Yeah.
He might give you a fist pump or a handshake depending on your age.
Yeah, I will switch up fist bump to handshake, or I might psych you out and go for a handshake and then go back to the fist bump. So, just little things like that. I love tattoos. I slowly get tattoos added to my collection. I mean that's pretty much it. Basketball was my first love. Music, drums. I don't play the drums as much as I should. And one of my friends is in a band, and I'm trying to get on his level of like playing all the time. So hopefully
self-taught drummer?
I did take lessons as a kid. I took lessons when I was about 12 to 14 years old, and then drums are really big and really loud. And I had 2 daycares on either side of me where I grew up, so it was kind of tough to find the time to play. But I want to get back into that pretty soon. And
my brother-in-law has a sound studio at his home, and if I can hook you up with
that would be great.
And he plays the drums.
Oh, that's perfect.
So
that's perfect.
Yeah, self-taught. One thing I wanted to say, Evan, I don't think I really got a chance to say during the interview. I really think it's so cool that you being a young entrepreneur or business owner, I feel like you've done so much for the community, and you bring so much just in general to like other business owners within our community. And I really want to applaud you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's not easy being a business owner.
No.
And you're taking a chance on yourself, you're taking a chance on the community, on other people or your employees, and to really just start where you started and where you're at now, and then all the goals you have for yourself and plans. I mean, that's saying a lot about you, not just as a business owner, but just as a person.
Thank you.
And I really respect that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Evan, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. I know you've taken time just out of your business, out of your day, so thank you so much.
Anytime. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe and to visit Calavera Coffee. The address again is
1715-2 or Suite 2, Airline Highway. We're open every day 7 to 6. If you're in a rush, put a mobile order in. It'll be ready on the counter right next to the barista.
And also don't forget to follow Calavera Coffee on Instagram. We'll put all that information in the description below. Thanks so much.